Yeah, I was thinking that I should probably start a second channel for my videos. This is a response. This is a specific response to a request from last week. Last week I made a video on rejecting postmodern truth claims and what the ramifications are for the artist. This is a calm, deep dive on that subject matter. I have no idea whether or not there will be any audience for this at all, but I'm going to try to step through this without all of the animations and without all of the stuff, so it's more of a deep dive. Hopefully this will be something that you'll get something out of. The name of the video was The Simple Idea That Changed Everything for Me, and it was about the wholesale rejection of postmodern truth claims. Ideas have consequences, and the way we view the world gives form to our material reality. You know, as an example, in this video that we see here, there's a motorcycle, and in Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, the book refers to the idea that when you see a motorcycle moving down the highway, you're not just looking at a motorcycle. Actually, what you're looking at is a set of organized human ideas. A motorcycle is a set of beliefs both about nature and our physical world. Our world is literally human beliefs that are externalized, that are made material. You don't see chimps designing and building motorcycles. You may see them riding them, but you don't see them designing and building them. And it's because of the realm of ideas and value. So what we believe and hold true as a culture, how we understand the fundamental nature of reality, fashions the world we live in. When you close your eyes and open them up, you're looking at the realm of human imagination, ideas, and knowledge. And that is why rejecting postmodern truth claims is so radically important, and why it's so important to living a healthy, in the most profound sense of the word, life, and why it's so important to the artist. So it's critically important to reject the primary value system of our age, which is postmodernism. And why is that? Well, regardless of the side of the political divide that you fall on, if you look around, you can see the insanity of our world. And this is a direct result of the claims that postmodern philosophy makes regarding the nature of reality and truth. That coupled with technology, which I'll get into in a moment. And postmodern philosophy makes the following claims, and I'm going to read from the screen here. There is no objective reality. 2, there is no scientific or historical truth, objective truth. 3, science and technology and even reason and logic are not vehicles of human progress, but suspect instruments of established power. Now, I can't underscore this enough. When we look right here, which way is it? When we look right here, philosophy is not an abstraction. As a species, what we believe makes our world. Philosophy is what the species is taught in schools, the entire edifice of human knowledge, and it's about how we understand the fundamental nature of reality. Philosophy is not an abstraction. Michel Foucault states that there is no truth outside of power. And this is an important insight, but it opens up humanity to absolutely terrible consequences. Foucault's ideas of the regimes of truth is basically that those in power dictate what is true. And while that's at least in part true, it is incredibly corrosive, or can be incredibly corrosive. And why is that? It's that way because, it's corrosive because it contributes to our inability, the individual's inability to grok the objective material reality that exists independent of the self. This idea of regimes of truth allows for an out. It allows for an escape hatch. It allows for the individual to avoid the cold, hard reality of material truth that exists outside of the self. So the ultimate point here is that postmodern truth claims are fairly easily debunked. In our most vulnerable states, we can see the fallacies of postmodern truth claims clear as day, easily. If there is a tiger literally in the room with us, it's not subject to our perspective, nor is it subject to power, nor is it relative? When Roy from Siegfried and Roy was attacked by the tiger, that was a material and objective event that was not relative to our perspective or to your perspective. It happened to him and to the audience. It's in the horrifying moments of our lives. It's in the horrifying moments of our lives that reality and truth become all too real. When and if there's a tiger in the room with us, like what we see here, when and if there is a tiger in the room with us, we are confronted with reality. Postmodern truth claims simply fall apart in the face of our most deeply personal and horrifying experiences. Sickness, death, and love, yes, actual love, show us that there's a material reality that exists outside of power and independent of self. If that weren't the case, I could, or we could, wish this away. We could change the horrifying reality in this picture. At moments like this, through desire, or in Foucault's terms, through power, or through the relativity of perspective, we could wish this away. We could deem it not so. But reality in those moments of horror and in the moments of love are all too real. So the tragedy and psychosis of our present moment has been made possible through postmodern claims regarding morality, good and bad, good and evil. Derrida, another of the philosophers who's absolutely laid waste to our culture, attacks the notions of good and evil and good and bad, and that they're natural or that they're given. And yeah, these claims can also be debunked fairly easily. And what is good, Phaedrus, and what is not good, and need we anyone to tell us these things? Plato from Phaedrus. You don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. To some degree, good and bad, right and wrong, they're common sense because they're baked in evolutionarily. This is Mu, who unfortunately was an absolute force of nature. Mu lived with us in our pack, in our family, among other animals. And he knew not to attack the rabbits and the bird who lived with us. He knew that he was part of a pack. Through common sense, he knew the code that ape shall not kill ape. He knew better than to kill the members of his own pack. And the facts are that we're in a state of Jungian mass psychosis. And Carl Jung suggested that mass psychosis occurs when pressures, cultural influences, or collective anxieties activate these archetypal forces on a large scale, leading to irrational or destructive behavior among the population. This can manifest in various forms, such as mass hysteria, sound familiar? Social unrest, sound familiar? Political extremism, sound familiar? Or religious fanaticism? Does this sound familiar? Jungian mass psychosis, the condition of our age. So collective anxieties, societal pressure, these activate archetypal forces, according to Jung, on a large scale. Mass hysteria, social unrest, political extremism, religious fanaticism. Jung suggests that there are triggers for this. When I look at it, what I see that postmodern philosophy and technology are the triggers. We're going to get to that in a second. There is, as an example, in our political system, an incentive system for lying, for decoupling speech acts from truth. When there is no underlying truth, there is no necessary correlation between what we say and the thing that happened. Now, both of the last two, quote unquote, most powerful men in the world have been demonstrably provable, systematic and habitual liars, both Biden and Trump. And there's an incentive system for it. When in our culture, the two most powerful men in the world are habitual liars, and their speech acts, the things that they say, bear no correlation to what actually happened, and we can see that happening. What happens with the populace, what happens with the great mass of humanity, is that they learn that their acts, that what they say that they're rewarded by simply stating their truth. Schools, the entire Western educational system for the past 40 years has been predicated upon and teaching the tenets of postmodern truth claims. The message at every level of education is that there is no objective reality. Now, the ramifications for this are absolutely profound. Technology is the second component that is contributing to mass psychosis. We've entered a truly dystopian realm of the hyperreal. The Apple VR Pro, as an example,
There is a new sex trend that is taking the internet by storm. Have you heard of it? Gooning. Gooning is a self-pleasure activity. Well, for some it's more of a headspace. For others, it's more of a lifestyle. And for some, all of the above. It's centered around extreme edging that results in an intense, trance-like euphoric state known as goon state. And when I say extreme, I mean extreme.
So the Apple VR Pro, as an example, is the ultimate gooning dome.
Like this intense pleasure without the O can go on for hours, even days.
As I was saying, the Apple Vision Pro is potentially the ultimate gooning dome. Insert my gooning animation here. Hyperreality, according to Wikipedia, was the easiest place that I could come up. Hyperreality is seen as a condition in which, because of the compression of perceptions of reality and culture and media, what is generally regarded as real and what is understood as fiction are seamlessly blended together in experiences so that there is no longer any clear distinction between where one ends and the other begins. Hyperreality is seen as a condition in which, because of the compression of perceptions of reality and culture and media, what is generally regarded as real and what is understood as fiction are seamlessly blended together in experiences so that there is no longer any clear distinction between where one ends, why do I keep doing that? Between where one ends and the other begins. So through technology and postmodern philosophy, there is an inability to disentangle the hyperreal from the real. The computer game industry makes more money than both Hollywood and American sports. The problem is that the gaming industry, the gaming is a simulator for decentering, for literal, not figurative decentering. We can take a look here at Fortnite as an example. So children and adults spend hundreds of hours literally decentering themselves, simulating this process of decentering, playing the game from above and behind themselves, playing as an avatar. All of these factors are agents that have triggered mass psychosis, Jungian mass psychosis. According to Jung, mass psychosis events are triggered by a host of different factors. In our pathologized culture, there are social disruptors. Trigger number one is technology. Social media, the iPhone, and the ensuing hyperreality, and that zero capacity, leaving us with a zero capacity to disentangle the hyperreal from material reality. Trigger number two is our entire educational system, schools, outside of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, for the past 40 years, have been built on postmodern truth claims. So, according to Jung, mass anxiety is caused by cultural disruption and anxiety. It comes from a sense of collective heightened anxiety. The next stage in the process is the projection of unconscious fears and desires. And then there is an amplification and reinforcement of these unconscious fears and desires. In our case, obviously through the media and through social media. It's an echo chamber ceaselessly amplifying our fears and our anxieties. And the next stage in the process is the triggering of mass hysteria, and triggering mass hysteria is the normalization and conformity. So in our case, as mass conformity is enforced through Twitter and cancel mobs and rage mobs, all of these things result in kind of in a Jungian mass psychosis. But the biggest question is, what are the ramifications of this for the artist? This is our concern, right? So here we see a print from my print from last December, I Hate Marcel Duchamp, which addresses very briefly the scourge of conceptualism and postmodernist attacks on truth, good and bad, and how the legacy, the conceptual legacy of Marcel Duchamp has laid waste to contemporary art. This notion that there is no good or bad, which is a Derridian concept, Derrida. So the fundamental postmodern idea that there's no good or bad has nearly destroyed contemporary art. This Derridian idea is used by the lazy, the weak, the unskilled, the uncommitted, and the unserious as excuses to legitimize objectively bad work. Now, I could shit in the corner and call it art, and we would take it seriously. Now, in some cases, it is serious. There's Piero Manzoni's Mère d'Artiste. But I could take a shit in the corner and call it art. Now, how do I know that? I know that from 24 years in art school, and I'm going to go full screen here because it's really important. I need to be perfectly clear about this. I don't believe that art school in itself is bullshit, and I don't believe that all contemporary art is bullshit, but I have seen it over and over how the least committed students and many of the least committed artists abuse the legacy of conceptualism, abuse postmodern truth claims, and abuse the notion that there is simply no good or bad in order to legitimize their quote-unquote de-skilled work. Let me call you in 2 seconds. Let me call you back. 2 seconds. Luckily, this least committed fraction is a tiny fraction of the students. So art schools are absolutely filled with terrible shit masquerading as the de-skilled art object, and that comes from the decoupling, the Duchampian decoupling of labor from the art object. The fact is that the legacy of Marcel Duchamp and conceptualism are major elements in our problem. So the legacy of Duchamp decoupling labor from the art object has nearly destroyed art. Now, we can take a look at fucking Midjourney and OpenAI. They have accelerated the problem, and you can make the case that Midjourney and its ilk are the fact that they make nearly instantaneous artwork, which is absolute garbage, is a continuation of this Duchampian legacy of the supremacy of the idea over the intellect of the hand, the kind of commitment to the artwork, skill, labor, and discipline. So the solution really is the rejection of postmodern truth claims and a return to the real, a return to discipline, labor, skill, craft, the logic of the hand. Most importantly, the artist is one who reveals. The artist is almost like a hand, or can be a hand, pointing to an underlying reality, who reveals the real. The artist is one who points to and who reveals that which is real, or those things that are real. And the art object orchestrates artifice to the point of the real. Yo, you're on speaker and I'm recording a video. What's up?
Just chilling. With your mom is?
Yeah, she just called me. Give her a ring, all right?
She's not picking her phone. Is.
I'm right in the middle of record. I'll call you right back, all right? Call you right back. So the art object orchestrates artifice to the point, to point to the real. What do I mean by that? If we look at this rectilinear plane right here, if we think about a picture plane or if we think about an object, all of that is artificial. It's all orchestrated artifice. But the commitment needs to be for the artist to point to those things that are real. And artists are part of the human knowledge project, and as such, there's a return to the simple idea that the goal of the human intellectual project and activity is the pursuit of veritas, of truth. An artist is a component, the artist is an agent of that. So debunking postmodern truth claims is a huge component of this idea, and it's the idea that changed absolutely everything for me, is the commitment to the real, and the notion that I am not the source of reality. that I share reality with those around me, that I'm part of a community, and that there are things outside of myself. So this was an attempt to provide a more in-depth deep dive on last week's video. I'll see you later.